Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to get this recorded before all the noise in the camp starts. I don't have a lot of people here, but the lawnmowers are started, or the people blowing leaves and grass around. They always find ways to remove nature. It's nice, it's quiet, you can hear the birds in the background. And not those crazy ravens and crows that we get around here. All right. I'm recording this on the 20th. We have some big days coming up. What are we going to see? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But one of the things I want to encourage you to do is keep your focus on Jesus, because we don't know which day it can be. Remember, for the rapture, it's not tied to a date. It could happen on a Jewish holiday, but it's not guaranteed. You say, well, the last trump, it's got to be the Feast of Trumpets. They blew trumpets every day. I've told you that. They'd go up in their towers and they'd blow the trumpet and the guy would yell out, everything's fine, have a good night. Of course, he'd say that in Jewish. So we don't know. It could be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be on the Feast of Trumpets. Satan's calling the ball on this one. He's going to pick a day that he thinks will be most disruptive. We still have things that haven't happened yet that I would think need to happen. Israel hasn't been attacked. Maybe they're going to try to get to where these new red heifers are, and I'll talk to that in a bit. There's got to be something coming up. We had our Germans speak out and say the 24th is going to be a day that we're going to remember where we were. What does that mean? We don't know. So it could be as early as the 24th. It could be Rosh Hashanah or the Feast of Trumpets. But remember, that's a 2-day event, so the last trump isn't played until the end of the second day. And like Brenda Weltner pointed out, if we are the child, of course, in Revelation 12, which we are, if we're going to switch to a Jewish point of view, then we've got to basically, hang around for 8 days. When a baby is born, and when an Israeli baby is born, he's taken care of for 8 days, at which point they give him a name, he's circumcised, and now he's a proper Jewish boy. So if we're going to go through that, we're going to have to pick a starting point. It could be the Feast of Trumpets that start it. We've been in Gentile time frame all this time. But Satan's got to do something. When he comes down here, he's going to attack. He's going to attack Israel. The Revelation 12 sign says that he's coming after us and the woman. Now, Russia's trying to do their work in Ukraine, and they're not doing well. Well, yeah, they've got the power to do a lot of things, but they can't. That's a large area. Ukraine's a very big country. The whole country of Israel would fit on whatever the battlefront is. It's a big country, and they don't need to win it all. They just want to try to get an edge of it, because they've already got access to the northern side where they're at, where Russia is. Russia's right above them. They just want to really have a quarter on that eastern side of Ukraine. But they're getting ready to play hardball with their power over there. Gas and oil and that kind of stuff power. The rest of the countries may decide to do something about it. Ukraine took over 3 of the refineries that Russia owned. They took them over. Now, if they haven't got anything to put in them, I don't know what they're going to do, but at least they took them over. Russia would have to come and take them back, and that would probably destroy them. And Russia doesn't really want to lose oil over there, because they want to eventually sell it. They just want people to suffer for a little bit for coming against them. Okay, so my main point of this message is keep your eyes on Jesus. Don't lose focus. If things don't happen in a time that we're expecting, we've been here before a number of times. You know, since the Revelation 12 sign in 2017, we've been looking, wondering, is it this year? Is it this year? Is it this date? And there's some disappointment when those dates and years pass. It's been 5 years since that time. But don't forget where we are. We are in a end-time configuration right now. We know it's coming. We just don't know exactly when. If we want to stay on the 7-year tribulation, it's got to happen this year. But if that calculation is wrong, because nowhere in the Bible does it say the tribulation is 7 years. It says the year or the week of Daniel is, the 70th week of Daniel is 7 years. Maybe it's already started and we don't know, because there's really nothing telling us the start. We can't do any calculations from the beginning. We can only calculate backwards. And Brenda Welton has done that on her Kingdom of Priests timeline. If you don't have that, go get it. It puts out a couple of scenarios. You may say, well, we're almost out of time. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to bother to look. Keep you busy. We're supposed to be spreading the gospel. We're supposed to be telling the world about it, especially if you've got family members that aren't going to make it. I've had prayer requests for family members. There are loved ones that are going to be left behind. Like I put in one of my comments, we don't have to worry about, I said in my last video, you should have a defined will that covers a disappearance, because we're just going to disappear. You say, well, I don't care if they get it. Well, if you don't love them, then that's okay. But if you still love them, you want them to survive long enough to accept Jesus. If they starve to death in the first month or two because they haven't got any resources, the government's going to shut everything down. That won't be good. If you've been stocking up food, prepping like I've been telling you, we're going to be able to use it until we're gone. And then it can be passed on to friends and family to keep them alive, because they're going to have to see all these things continue to get worse. This last month, we've seen an uptick in all kinds of things. So let's take a look at some of the things we've just seen to remind ourselves. I just recently did a video and I talked about, what's it going to feel like to blast off? Well, they just had a successful test fire on the Mars rocket, that big monster that they're making. It's never going to get there. We know that. I think he knows that too. I think he's just doing this because he's got contracts. But anyhow, they just had a test firing of 7 Raptor engines. Whenever I mention 7, just remember that it's God's completion. So they fired all 7 rockets, which is pretty cool, and they look good. If that's the way it's going to go, we could get to that point, it could take off. Okay. Our fearless leader has just announced that the Big C is over. It's dead. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Why would he say that? They could go back and claim it's back again. They don't need it. They're ready for their next phase, which should be coming up potentially either this month or next. That might be part of the September 24th thing. A money collapse. Because he's ordered digital money. He's ordered them to start setting it up. So that's going to happen. The Antichrist will be very grateful when he gets to that point. You can't buy or sell without it, remember. And they're going to hold everybody accountable to ESG when it gets to that point. When they can force you because of your money, then you're going to have to comply. you're going to be like me every day, trying to hide what you're saying so they don't come down against you. I think I already mentioned that YouTube came out with new policies. 3 strikes, you're out. The first one, you get a warning. The second one, if it's a big problem, big outing, they might kick you out then. Third one, they definitely will kick you off YouTube. Okay, that's their new policy. And there really isn't another good choice. Yeah, I've been to Telegram and I have my account there, but it can't do what we can do here. So I just put some stuff there just in case this goes completely down. You're going to need to look over there for me for whatever I'm doing. But I'm thinking that if it goes completely down, we're out of here, so don't worry. But Telegram is my backup plan, but it's not a good backup plan. It's just staying alive backup plan. I wish they would expand it. Okay. A rancher in Texas who's a Christian, I guess, wanted to be part of these end times, so he started raising red heifers. And he just shipped 5 of them that have been rabbi approved. The Temple Institute flew a couple of rabbis over to Texas to examine them. Don't bother sending them unless we look them over. And they were approved. As of right now, they are perfect. Now, they've had ones before that were been real close, and they were hoping that the month or two that they had to wait would be okay, and they didn't pass. We've been trying this. It's almost a miraculous thing to get a perfectly red heifer. Miraculous. Gee, are we talking about God? Okay, well, it will happen. It has to happen. Okay, and I've already told you the reason for the red heifer, but just in case you're not aware, they have to sacrifice the red heifer, which has to be without blemish and perfect. No, you can't even have 3 white hairs. They have to be all red. If you've got that, you sacrifice it. You take the ashes from that heifer, you mix it in water, and that becomes your holy water. You sprinkle it on the priests, and they've been sanctified. When you get a temple, you sprinkle it on the temple, and the temple is sacrificed, or sanctified. Without that, you cannot have a holy communion with God. The priests can't do it. They can't go in the temple. You can't go further. Anybody can turn a building into a temple, or they can build one. They can put up a tabernacle overnight. They have everything to go in the temple. They just need someone to give them permission. Now, Jordan's technically in charge. They've tried to stay neutral. But somebody may push them too hard, and they say, well, fine, if that's the way you want it. Saudi Arabia doesn't care. They know that the Dome of the Rock is a farce. They know that the mosque there, the UNESCO mosque, is a farce. Those were only claimed recently. I mean, in the past few hundred years, but certainly never before, back when Christ was there. The Dome of the Rock there used to be a building on there that was a, what do you want to call it? A monument or a place of worship. It had 12 pillars. 12 tribes, 12 pillars. It was a monument to where the temple was, and people could go there and see where it's at. There was an earthquake a while back, a few hundred years ago. I don't know, was it? They get earthquakes there all the time. But anyhow, they build what you see now, the facade of the Dome of the Rock, over the top of it, covering up any sign that there was anything Jewish to it. It's a facade. It's a lie, just like Muslim is a lie. It's a copy. Satan is good at copying. He's got no original capabilities at all. So Satan is consistent too. God is consistent with love. Satan's consistent with hate. And he uses the same tactics constantly. Look at every dictatorship. They use the same tactics. We've got Mein Kampf to tell you what they are in case you don't know. Okay. This last week we've had 3 level 7 earthquakes. We're going to get an increase in earthquakes. pestilence, earthquakes. We just had the big C. And we may have more coming, I don't know. I think they've worn out that attempt, so I don't think they're going to do it again. But something may come up on its own that they didn't create. We'll see, but the earthquakes are big. We're getting earthquakes in Southern California at the base of the San Andreas Fault. Those typically happen down there when there's something big getting ready to happen. So there may be a major earthquake coming to California in the next week or two. Major earthquake. One that's going to do a lot of damage. LA and San Francisco are very close to the faults. In fact, the San Andreas Fault goes right down the middle of San Francisco Bay. And over the years of studying it, they found that there are earthquake faults all over that. The Pacific Plate is going underneath California, and the Sierra Nevadas are going up because of it. So it's this. They're not going north and south. They're going like this. So California is not going to fall in the ocean. In a couple of million years, it would be where Seattle is. Los Angeles would be where Seattle is. Well, we're not going to get there, but for those thinking that they could go to Nevada and buy oceanfront property, no, it's not going to happen. Okay, so we've had these major earthquakes, and there have been 7 level 7 earthquakes this year after the last one in Mexico. So, interesting times, 7s. We've had, in fact, and before that, this year we've had 86 6 to 6.9 earthquakes. So things are increasing. We've had 3 major hurricanes this week, all doing major damage. We had the one hitting Alaska. We've had the one hitting Puerto Rico, and it's not done yet. It knocked out power, done a lot of damage there. That's pretty much, cookie cutter. Every time a major hurricane goes over that island, it does major damage. It's out there in the middle of the ocean and saying, here, come get me. I wouldn't build anything on that island unless it was reinforced concrete, because it's going to get hit hard. We had the one hitting Japan. Again, major damage. And they've had a bunch of little, 5 and 6 earthquakes over there. They just had a 5-6, I think, in Peru and other places. It's very active right now. So these are things just to kind of wake us up. It didn't say that these things are going to happen over the course of 2,000 years. It says when you get to the end, you're going to see all these things, and those that do will see him come back. So it can't be a long period of time. 70 years, 80 years, 70 to 80 years. It can't be a long period of time. And that's from the fig tree point of view. But when it comes to warning us about what's coming, we've just had the Queen of England die. She's claimed to be Christian. I hope she is. She ruled for 70 years. Interesting. And the man formerly known as Prince, yeah, I did a rock and roll reference. The man formerly known as Prince became king. He is big in the new big round ball order. Big at it. He's talked to it about it. He's the one that's quoted saying, he's got all the money, why doesn't he just do it now? Try to find that, you won't. But he's now in charge. They can move faster. And our government's still going to pull something. They have to. If they have an honest election, we're going to be having a lot of people down at the unemployment office with a big D over their name. They're going to lose. We'll replace everything that they put into place, and then we're going to set them back to ground zero. It's like the big T did when he was in charge. And if he'd have stayed in charge, he would have continued. And you see what they did to make sure that he didn't get in charge. and they're trying to do it again. They may or may not have a plan that's going to work for the election. If they really figure that they don't, something else is going to happen. They may invite one of their Muslim friends to come in and blow up a building again. Here, bring an active nuke here. We'll help you. We'll help you get it in across the border. We've opened the border for you. Bring it right in. Set it up in a major city and blow it up. How evil are these leaders? They're quite evil. So don't put anything past them. Let's see what else we got going on. Russia's having trouble in Ukraine. They want a corridor down through the eastern side of it, but Russia comes all the way down to Turkey. Now, they've been kind of letting Turkey play both sides of the fence right now. They're kind of buddying up to the U.S. and buddying up to them too, and they hate the U.S., so if they're butting up to us, it's just because they want something. But Turkey and Syria right there on the top, they're available to Russia. They could come there. And what's below? Israel. We know they're going to attack at some point. He may give up on his Ukraine mission for a little while. He's got troops all the way there. What if he moves some of those troops down into Turkey and into Syria? He tried letting Iran come into Syria. Putin did. And that was a fiasco for them because all Iran does, they have one thing in their mind. They're blinded. They can't see anything. They're full of hate from Satan. All they want to do is destroy Israel. So they give them a place. They give them, here, you can take over this base. So they start moving their munitions in there so they can launch or build their munitions to launch at Israel. Well, Israel's not going to put up with it. The United States isn't helping. They're giving it lip service, but they're not helping. So Israel's been attacking on a regular basis. Bases, airports. They were using the commercial airports to bring in arms, missile parts, things like that. So Israel's taken out their runways a couple of times. I mean, they're not completely bombing the whole runway. They just get a couple of bombs in there and you can't land a plane. That's all they've been doing. They go back and fix it. Each one of them is a warning. They've been blowing up all kinds of stuff. The problem with Russia is they're putting their stuff right next to the Russian bases. And Russia says, we don't want an incident yet. He said yet. He didn't, We're not ready for two fronts. We're dealing with Ukraine. But if it gets too heavy over there, he may just say, we're coming back for you guys in Ukraine, and we're going to go deal with Israel so that Iran will stop being a pest. That's coming. We know that there are thousands of missiles on the northern side. Now, if there are thousands like they've already got, that we've seen, that Hamas used from the Gaza, if there are thousands like that, Israel can deal with them. Their Iron Dome is everywhere. But if they start using cruise missiles, drones, smart drones, special guided missiles, even ballistic missiles, they can go way up and come straight down. Whatever they use, if they start using some of those more, those would be harder to hit. So the war right there is just, it's on a timer. The sand is running down near the bottom, but we don't know, how many grains of sand left before they attack. We don't know. Okay, so those things there's hot spots all over the place. And I haven't even mentioned China and Taiwan. I haven't mentioned North Korea. They've been there forever, and they're going to be hot spots for a while. But the biggest thing is don't lose heart if we don't get raptured on a particular day. We don't know a day. And it's not because it says we don't know the day. That's his coming back. That's got nothing to do with it. The rapture doesn't say anything about when it's going to happen. It's got events tied to it, but it doesn't tell us when those events are going to happen. We don't know. Therefore, be ready. Now, whether the bridesmaids and their oil apply to this or apply to him coming back, it doesn't matter. It's the same. God's rules apply. If he applies it for a specific event, it applies it for anything else that he's involved in. So don't get caught with your lamp empty. We have to be ready at all times. And every day that you're out, every day that you're talking to somebody, give them a reason to ask you, why are you like this? Your standard greeting, should say, have a blessed day. Give them an idea that you're special in God's eyes. Someone's complaining about something as you walk away. Is it okay if I pray for you? I add to my prayer list every day. I keep a piece of paper. It's in another notebook. This is one of mine that I use for my studies, but I have another one that I keep people that need prayer. And I pray for them every day. A lot of times I never hear back whether they got out of it or not. Sometimes God's answer to prayer is not yet. Or I did this to help you, to make you stronger. When you're strong enough, when you prove to me you're strong enough, I'll fix it. And sometimes it's like Paul. No, I'm not going to remove that affliction from your side. It's to keep you grounded. If you were having no difficulties, you might let some of this go to your head. And I want full attention. Remember, Paul's name used, and when it changed, he changed his direction. He was very zealous about killing Christians, because he was Jewish. He thought he was doing the right thing. God knew he had a good heart, but he was misguided. So Jesus talked to him. You need to be working for me, not against me. He turned. He went full bore. The same way that he was working against him, he went the other direction for him. We can all turn on a dime. You don't need, he's going to forgive you immediately of everything you've done. So you don't have to carry that baggage with you. Turn and help God. We don't have much time. Now, I've said this before, I'm not a betting person, but if I were, as an example, I say this, I would bet that the rapture is this fall. But I can't give you a date. But just in case it isn't, we are so close to the starting up of the seals, at most a year away. But I would bet this fall. Okay, so don't give up on it yet. And if we get past the trumpets, keep waiting. We've got plenty of more stuff going on. What is going on over there? There are 3 squirrels chasing each other. I can hear them running around on the trees. Don't lose heart. Keep focused. If we miss a day, just keep focused. Now, don't go selling everything you've got and standing on the street corner with your thumb out waiting for God to come by, for Jesus to come by. There's no point in selling it anyway, because you can't take the money with you either. But there's been major events in the past where people have panicked. I remember the old radio show Orson Welles put out, War of the Worlds. He did it as a mock newscast. And the whole story, the War of the Worlds, was told over the radio. And they would cut in from time to time saying, this is for your entertainment, it's not true. But they didn't do that constantly because that would disrupt the theatrical side of it. So if people missed that, they were panicking. People were, they did all kinds of things. They sold off stuff. They figured the world was at an end. They needed their money. Don't panic. We're going to go quickly, so you don't have to worry about it. My tongue-in-cheek of my last video about are we going to feel the blast off? No, we're going to go in an instant. But I was just playing around, having some fun. We don't know what the feeling, if any, we're going to feel. We're probably going to be there, won't even notice it. Or what's he going to do then? Say, okay, follow me? Are we going to then appear in heaven? We don't know. God can do anything he wants. He's God. So, stay with this. Don't give up. Make sure your lamps are full of oil at all times. I even fill my gas tank up. I never let it get below 3/4. I fill it up on a regular basis because I don't even know when they're going to change the price of gas again. So I keep it full. Oh, and I paid $3.03 yesterday in Georgia. We have we're still under a relaxed state tax. We don't have a state tax on our gas like we normally would. It's being held off. We have a governor who's looking out for us. All right. I am over on my time, so I'm not going to really do a Bible study on this one. This is just one of encouragement. We have God that's going to come and get us. Don't worry about the things you're seeing. Now, if you happen to be in an area that gets hit with something, pray for protection. Even though we've had all these major things, there haven't been that many people killed. One or two type of things. It's tragic when anybody dies, but hundreds could die in some of these things, and we're only hearing about onesie, twosie here, nothing major. That's going to change. The fourth seal will fix that. Where we haven't had the first and second seal yet. Keep your eye on Jesus. Pray for your friends and family if they haven't accepted Christ. Stay on them. They say, stop being a pest. Smile and say, yeah, but I'm a loving pest. Okay, till we meet in the clouds. It's a good thing I didn't start a Bible study. It started raining. I'd be getting wet. I'm inside because I'm up doing my laundry. All right. Stay safe, people. God bless.